Welcome back, guys. Before we start, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, can you please tell me from where you're watching? Thanks. Okay, so I'm not someone who normally talks about ghosts or haunted houses or any of that stuff. I've always been the explain-it-away type. A creaky floor, old wood, lights flickering, bad wiring, strange noise, probably the wind or maybe the fridge doing something weird. I'm not dramatic, but I'm telling you, something's not right about the house we moved into this summer. It's a small, two-story place tucked near the edge of Ashfern Road. A quiet, tree-lined street in a sleepy little town called Larksview. This was supposed to be our fresh start. I'm Jamie, my younger cousin Leo, and our friend Emily, who all moved in together after finishing school. We found the place through a family friend who offered us a great deal. And honestly, that should have been our first red flag. The house itself was built in 1974. It's not ancient or falling apart, but there's something off about it. You walk in and immediately feel like someone's watching you. It's not loud or aggressive. It's more like the air is too still, like everything's holding its breath. We joked about it at first, said it felt like the house was waiting for something. But after the first few weeks, none of us were laughing. It started small, just little stuff you could explain away. The first weird thing happened the night we moved in. We were all in the living room, surrounded by pizza boxes and half-unpacked boxes, watching TV. Emily had gone out to the garage to grab a box of books, and not 30 seconds later, she came sprinting back inside. Her face was pale, like she'd just seen a ghost, which technically she might have. She slammed the door and said, "Did one of you throw something at me?" Leo and I looked at each other, confused. "What are you talking about?" "We've been in here the whole time," Emily said. "A ball, like a rubber ball. It flew past my head and landed in this old paint bucket in the corner. I swear it came from behind me." She dragged us out there to prove it, and yeah, sure enough, there was a red ball sitting perfectly inside the bucket like someone had aimed for it. None of us owned a red ball. We even checked with the previous owner and they said they didn't leave anything behind. We laughed it off, sort of. But it bugged me. A few days later, when I was home alone, I started hearing noises from the garage. It sounded like someone dragging something heavy across the floor, like furniture scraping. Sometimes there were thuds, like a box being dropped. I thought maybe one of the shelves was tipping over or something, so I went out to check, but everything looked normal. Nothing had moved. The air in the garage was cold and smelled like metal and old cardboard. I stood there for a long minute, just listening. Silence. I turned to go back inside, and right as my hand touched the doorknob, I heard it again. That dragging sound. But this time it was slow, deliberate, like someone was inching something heavy right behind me. I spun around. No one was there. I left the lights on and didn't go back in the garage for a week. 2 weeks after that, things got worse. Leo was at work. Emily was visiting her parents for the weekend. I was alone in the house, upstairs in my room, scrolling on my phone with some music playing. Out of nowhere, I heard a massive crash from downstairs. I froze. It wasn't subtle. It sounded like a cupboard door had been yanked open and slammed shut. Then another crash. Then another. It went on and on. Pots banging, cabinet doors opening and slamming shut, something scraping across the floor. I sat up, heart pounding, waiting for it to stop, but it didn't stop. It went on for almost half an hour. I didn't go downstairs, not even to peek. I texted Leo asking when he'd be home and just stayed put, sitting on my bed like a statue. When he finally pulled into the driveway, I ran downstairs with him. Nothing, not a single thing out of place. The kitchen looked normal. No open drawers, no broken dishes, no mess. I even checked the floor for scratches, nothing. We both stood there in the quiet and I could feel it again. That heaviness in the air. Like the house was watching us. The worst stuff happens in the bedroom. At first, it was just bad sleep. I'd wake up groggy like I hadn't rested at all. Then came the dreams. They weren't normal nightmares. Every dream took place inside this house. Same rooms, same walls, but it was different somehow. Darker, colder, The windows were always fogged over, and I'd feel this pressure, like something was pressing down on my chest, like I wasn't allowed to leave. One night I woke up around 3 a.m. and sat up in bed, heart pounding from another nightmare. I glanced across the room and that's when I saw it. A figure. Tall, thin, completely still. Just standing in the corner. At first I thought it was a shadow, but when I looked in the mirror on the closet door I saw him clearly. A man just standing there facing the wall. I shut my eyes. I told myself I was dreaming. When I opened them again, he was gone. Leo didn't believe any of this at first. He always had a joke ready, said we were watching too many horror movies. But then something happened to him. He didn't even tell me right away. Waited a few days. He said he was taking a nap in the afternoon, lying on his side of the bed. He'd just dozed off when he felt something like the mattress dipping, like someone had just sat down next to him. He thought it was me at first, but when he rolled over, no one was there. He said it felt so real, so physical, that he leapt out of bed, convinced someone had broken in. He checked the whole house, empty. He didn't nap alone after that. A few nights ago, something new happened. I woke up again at 3:03 a.m. It's always around 3, and this time I heard whispering. Faint, but right there by my ear. I couldn't make out the words, just soft, quick whispers like someone telling a secret they didn't want me to hear. I sat up, and the whispers stopped. Then I looked at the mirror again, and the man was there, closer this time, not in the corner, not facing the wall. He was standing right behind me. I spun around, but no one was there. When I looked back, the mirror was empty. Now we all hear things. Footsteps upstairs when no one's home. Cabinets left open when we're sure we closed them. Objects moving. Lights flickering in patterns and the cold spots. There are places in the house, especially by the basement door, where the air drops by at least 10 degrees. You stand there and feel your skin crawl like someone's breathing on your neck. Emily wants to move. Leo says we should just ignore it. But I don't think we can, because whatever's in this house, it knows we're here now and it's not done. So, my cousin Lila and I just moved into this weird old house up on Briar Ridge way out in the Blue Rock Mountains. My Aunt Sam bought it last spring. She says she needed a fresh start after the divorce, but honestly, this place doesn't feel like a new beginning. It feels like a place where things go to end. We used to live in a cozy neighborhood in a town called Willow Creek, where the houses were all squished together, and you could hear your neighbors yelling at their dogs. Now, there's nobody around for miles except trees, fog, and whatever's lurking in the woods. The view's amazing. When the clouds clear out, you can see for miles. But the air feels heavy. And the silence up here isn't peaceful. It's the kind that makes your ears ring. Lila says it's just mountain vibes, but I'm not so sure. My aunt's a big churchgoer. Crosses in every room, Christian rock on the radio, prayers before every meal. But Lila and we're into crystals, moon stuff, and energy cleansing. We like to think the trees and rivers have their own kind of spirit. Aunt Sam doesn't say anything about it, but I know she thinks it's just teenage nonsense. Thing is, we're not just playing pretend. Lila and I have seen stuff, felt stuff. Ever since we were little, we've been sensitive to, I don't know, things other people can't see. Our family calls us creative. What they really mean is they think we're making it up. But we're not. Aunt Sam says the house was built in the early 1900s for a mining foreman and his family. Blue Rock used to be a booming coal town until the mines collapsed in the 40s. Nobody talks much about what happened. You have to really dig to find anything, like physically dig. There are still broken down shafts hidden in the woods behind the house, half covered with moss and rusted metal signs that say things like danger, keep out, and shaft 6 closed. Anyway, the family that owned the house before us spent nearly 2 years fixing it up. New floors, new pipes, new paint, new everything. You'd never guess it used to be abandoned. It's actually kind of nice now. Cozy, warm colors, big windows. Doesn't creak too much. But no matter how shiny the place looks on the outside, something underneath still feels off. Rotten even. The first night I noticed it, it was freezing cold. Not just chilly, bone-deep cold. The kind that makes your teeth hurt and your breath feel sharp. It was about 9:30 at night and I was brushing my teeth in the upstairs bathroom when I heard it. A whistle. Not wind, not pipes, not some weird house noise. It was a person, whistling a tune. It was slow, like an old lullaby. Not cheerful, not sad, just off. Wrong. I froze. I didn't even spit out the toothpaste. I just stood there staring at the closed bathroom door, trying to figure out if I had really heard it. None of us can whistle. Not Aunt Sam, not Lila, not me. We'd all been watching a movie in the living room right before I came upstairs, and I knew there hadn't been any whistling in the film. I turned off the faucet and listened. The whistle came again. Closer this time. Clearer. It was coming from inside the house. I went downstairs trying not to freak out and found Aunt Sam and Lila yelling at each other. And here's the weird part. They weren't even arguing about anything real. They were snapping over little things like who forgot to put the milk back in the fridge. 5 minutes earlier, they'd been laughing at a dumb sitcom together. I backed away and went to my room. The whistling followed me there. I put on my headphones, turned up the volume. Didn't matter. I could still hear it. Sharp, clear, and steady. It felt like it was slicing through the walls, like it wanted me to hear it. It didn't sound human anymore. It was too perfect. Like a mockingbird that only knew one song, over and over. No breath breaks, no mistakes. I peeked out the window to see if maybe it was someone outside playing a prank. Nothing. Just the trees swaying and fog rolling in. But the whistle kept going. Sometimes it changed direction, like it was moving. First near the front of the house, then outside my window, then somewhere behind the walls, and then, this part still gives me chills. It doubled. 2 whistles, overlapping. One starting before the other ended. One high, one low. I didn't sleep that night. Around 4:15 in the morning, Lila came into my room crying. She's 2 years younger than me, but she's not the kind to get scared easily. She said she kept having dreams of someone standing at the foot of her bed, whistling with their mouth wide open, but their eyes weren't blinking. Just staring at her, I believed her, 100%. Aunt Sam gave her some tea and tucked her back in, said it was just a nightmare. But when we went to the kitchen for breakfast later, the overhead lights were dripping something thick and yellowish. I don't even know what it was. Looked like battery acid mixed with oil. Gross. Definitely not normal. That morning, as I was putting my cereal bowl in the sink, I heard a light tapping on the back screen door. Not knocking, tapping. Like fingertips, slow, measured. I called out, "Hello?" No one answered. I didn't go check. Not after everything else, because seriously, who taps on a door at 6 a.m. and doesn't say anything? That's when I knew this house isn't right. But try explaining that to Aunt Sam. She'll just smile and say, "You girls and your stories." I stopped trying. Lila did too. Instead, we started doing what we could. I put a dream catcher over my bed. Lila hung protective symbols in her window. We placed bowls of salt near the doors and windows. We burned sage when Aunt Sam was at work. We even buried a jar of black salt and nails at the base of the chimney, something I read about online. The creepy part? Some of it seemed to work. For a while, then the dreams started. Not just bad dreams, shared dreams. I'd dream of someone standing in the hallway, and the next day Lila would tell me she saw the same person, but from the stairs. Always watching, always silent. Just staring. We called him the Looker. We don't know what he is, but he's not alive. His skin is pale and wet-looking, like cold clay. His eyes are all white, no pupils. And his mouth is always open like he's about to whistle. But no sound ever comes out when we see him, only in the dreams. Or when we're alone. It's gotten worse lately. We've started hearing breathing in the walls. Long, slow inhales. Then nothing. Then again. Like someone is living inside the drywall, just waiting. Sometimes lights flicker when no one's touching the switches. Sometimes the radio turns on, playing static. Sometimes we wake up to find furniture moved just slightly. Chairs angled toward the windows. Salt bowls spilled onto the floor. We found tiny footprints in the attic dust. Not raccoon-sized. Child-sized. Barefoot. There's a small door up there too, behind some insulation. I haven't opened it yet. I don't think I want to, and the worst part? The whistling is back, louder, closer. Every night I tried recording it on my phone, but nothing comes through. Just silence. Like the sound isn't meant to be captured. Like it only exists if you're here, if you listen. So yeah, that's why I haven't invited anyone over. That's why I don't sleep much anymore. And that's why I keep a line of salt across the bottom of my bedroom door every single night. Because something is wrong with this house on Briar Ridge, and I don't think it wants us to leave. Okay, so this happened a while ago. I was 13 at the time. Not little kid young, but still young enough to get freaked out pretty easily. My name's Jonah, and I used to live way out in a small sleepy place called Pine Hollow, Pennsylvania. It was one of those towns with no movie theater, 2 traffic lights, and a lot of trees. Way too many trees. Back then I lived with my Aunt Marlene. My mom had passed away the year before, and my dad was working overseas. Aunt Marlene wasn't the strict kind, she was cool in her own way. She made amazing grilled cheese, let me watch scary movies, and trusted me to stay home alone sometimes. That part? Yeah, it was a big deal to me. Her house was tucked away at the end of a long dirt road surrounded by woods, like actual forest woods. No neighbors for a few acres in any direction. And that used to make me feel kind of special. Like we had our own little world anyway. This one day, it was early October around 2014. I remember it was a Wednesday, because I had just come home from school and was pumped to have the place to myself for a few hours. Aunt Marlene had to work late at the animal shelter that night, so I had from 3:30 to 8:30 all to myself. It was still light outside, sunny even. I tossed my backpack on the couch, grabbed a soda, and went straight up to my room. I had a game night planned with my buddy Felix. We were in the middle of building this ridiculous underground bunker in Minecraft. I fired up my Xbox, hopped on the headset, and we were laughing and messing around like usual. But about 2 hours in, around 5:30, things started to feel off. I was mid-sentence, telling Felix about this trapdoor system I built, when I heard it slam a car door, loud, close. That might not sound weird, but like I said, we had no neighbors nearby. So hearing a car that close was not normal. I froze. Controller still in my hands, headset still on. I stood up and shuffled over to my window, which looks out over the gravel driveway. That's when I saw it, a dull red truck, muddy, dented, the kind of truck that looks like it's been through a war. It was parked crooked right across the middle of our driveway. The engine was still running. And someone was getting out. The man who stepped out was wearing a baggy hoodie. Camouflage, but not like the clean kind you see in stores. This one looked worn and dirty. He also had a black baseball cap pulled low over his face. I remember thinking, that hoodie looks way too hot for today. It was like 75 degrees outside, and then he started walking, not slowly. Fast, like he knew exactly where he was going. Straight to our front door. I whispered into the mic, "Felix, dude, someone just pulled up to my house." Felix was like, "Huh?" Who? I didn't answer. I was too focused. From my angle, I couldn't see the door anymore, but I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. Then a pause. Knock, knock, knock. Harder this time. Not polite knocking, like he was trying to wake up the house. I dropped the controller on my bed and ran to the other window, one that showed the front steps. The guy had stepped back, looking around. I whispered again. "Some random guy is at my front door. He doesn't look right." Felix said, "Call your aunt, man," but I didn't, not yet. I wanted to see what he was going to do. That's when he turned and started walking back toward the truck. My heart calmed down a little, but instead of getting in, he walked right past the driver's side. He went around the front of the truck toward the side of our house, toward the garage, and that's when I lost sight of him. I ran to my back window, but I couldn't see anything from there either. He was in my blind spot. Then I heard it. Click, jiggle, rattle. He was trying the side garage door, just testing it, like it was casual, like he belonged there. I felt this cold wave spread over me. That door doesn't always get locked, but thankfully I remembered Aunt Marlene locking it that morning when she went to work. She even joked about it. "I don't want raccoons moving in." Felix was yelling now through the headset, "Jonah, call someone!" "What's he doing?" "I think he's trying to get inside," I whispered, And then, silence. No more door rattling. Nothing. I crept downstairs. Step by step. Every part of me wanted to hide, but I had to know what was happening. I crouched behind the living room wall, which was near the back door. I didn't make a sound. I didn't even breathe loud. Then came this sound, one I'll never forget. Thud, like something heavy hit the patio. Not dropped exactly, set down hard. It made the glass in the door vibrate slightly. I stayed crouched. Still couldn't see anything. Just that awful silence again, then a scraping noise. Like something being dragged, and footsteps. I stood up just a little, barely peeking over the edge of the windowsill. I couldn't see the guy directly, but I saw the shadow he cast. His figure moved across the back wall. He was close. Way too close, then finally I heard another car door slam. I sprinted back up to my room, heart racing. From the window I saw him again. He was getting into the truck. Slowly this time, no rush. Like he wasn't done, just taking a break. And now that I could see into the back of the truck, I noticed something that made my stomach twist. A shovel, a crowbar, and what looked like a large dark tarp. Felix was still shouting in my headset, but I barely heard him. I was just staring. That's when Felix said, "Dude, get a pic of the license plate." I grabbed my iPod Touch, the only camera I had, and aimed it through the window. But he'd parked in a way that blocked the license plate completely. And just like that, the truck backed out, turned onto the road, and disappeared into the trees. I waited, and waited. Maybe 10 minutes passed before I finally crept downstairs again. I had to know what that thud was. When I stepped onto the back patio, my breath caught. Both of our big ceramic plant pots had been moved. One was tipped over. The welcome mat was crumpled and shoved aside. And under the edge of the bench, one of our spare keys was halfway pulled out. He had been searching for a key. We had one hidden back there. It was usually under a smaller pot. He must have checked the big ones first. If he had looked just a few inches to the left, I backed up, heart pounding in my ears. I ran around to the front porch. Same thing. Pots out of place. Like someone had ransacked the porch quietly and quickly. That's when the fear fully sank in. This man wasn't lost. He wasn't looking for help. He had come here to get in, and he had tools. I called Aunt Marlene finally. She dropped everything and came straight home. When she saw the pots, the tracks in the dirt, the disturbed bench, she didn't say anything for a long time. She just called the police. They came out, asked me everything, what he looked like, what kind of truck, what time. I told them all of it. They wrote it down, nodded, promised to patrol the area more, but I could tell from their faces. They didn't expect to find him, and they didn't. Not that night. Not ever. We never saw that truck again, but I still think about it. What if I hadn't been home? Or worse, what if I had opened the door? Even now, years later, I check every window twice before I go to bed. We never leave keys outside anymore. And I don't think I'll ever forget that sound. That thud on the patio, like he was getting ready to settle in.